Hi, I'm Fanny.
Hi, I'm Jace. Welcome to Freelance Creative Exchange, where every episode we talk to freelancers about freelancing and gig economy in Singapore and beyond.
So today we have our first ever couple, Q and Jose, on the show.
Yay! Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Q is a writer-director who is currently based in London. He has most recently co-written British feature film Love Possibly, which premiered at Dance Film Festival and notably receiving the Best Screenplay Award at the Sochi International Film Festival.
Wow.
Yeah.
As a team.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
I used to work as a visual effects artist for about 4 years right here in One North. And after I got married with a beautiful girl, we moved over to London.
Right.
We finally had the courage to say, I want to properly direct. Yeah. So
Right.
that's me. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So since we spoke about this beautiful lady, Jose. So Jose has been freelancing for the past 5 years in different aspects of the film industry, whether it's in visual effects, in editing, or also as a production assistant, right? So of course she just landed a full-time job based in London, of course, as well. So maybe Jose, you want to share a bit more about yourself with our audience?
Yeah, I've been living in London for the last already 8 years, I think. First studied filmmaking, and since then I've been freelancing, as you said, visual effects, editing jobs, all kinds of jobs. And I just a month ago I got my first full-time job offer for a company I've been working for the last few years. So very happy about that.
Great. So what do you do? Maybe tell us a bit about your company now. What do you
So the company is a motion capture company. So we use the technique for feature films. We go on set, but also in our own studio, we apply it to music videos or commercials or anything really. And we're using mixed reality now. It's a new technology. So we're creating content for that, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow.
Are you allowed to say the name of the company?
Yeah, it's the Imaginarium Studios, and it's
Wow.
run by Andy Serkis, who plays
Okay.
Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
So,
wow.
A lot of skills and a lot of great projects because he attaches his name to it. So it's
Right.
great.
Yeah,
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Was that one of the reasons why you chose London as a base for you to freelance? You know, how do you because you is a Singaporean and Jose, you are actually
From the Netherlands.
from the Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then how do you all land up in London?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very natural choice. I mean, we met each other in film school in London. And at the time, I was thinking about pursuing visual effects. And so I think I need to be able to be in an English-speaking country. And if you look at the world map, English-speaking, visual effects, top of the game, where can I go? Probably US, Canada, North America, or in terms of Europe, probably London. So yeah, one thing led to another. It's quite a natural thing. Yeah, but certainly in Europe, London is the place where we get most opportunities.
So do you have some challenges when you first started out, freelancing in London then?
It's more like you need to build up your network. So first you start working for maybe small companies or like independent projects, but you only meet a small team. But as soon as you step on a big film set with hundreds of people, and you start talking and making friends because there's a lot of downtime, you just drink coffee and you talk to each other. That's after that you get the calls or the texts. And you pass it on. If you can't make it, you send it to a few friends. And as a thank you, next time they'll include you in putting you forward for other jobs. So it takes time to build up the network.
Yeah, most of our jobs are through word of mouth, isn't it?
I've rarely gotten a job after a job interview. I'm really bad at job interviews. So it's just if people like working with you, they'll put you forward. And then
Yeah, it's probably the most direct one, and you are likely to say yes as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of the freelancing landscape in London, right? Because we know probably it's much more advanced than the freelancing landscape in Singapore. So in London, what are some of the common challenges that are always faced by freelancers like yourself? Right. So network connection is important. Is that like protections for freelancers in London as well and things like that?
There is some level. I mean, I think the biggest challenge in London is the sheer number of talents over there. It's super saturated, the market. So yes, there are a lot of opportunities, but there are so many people, and Europe, at the moment is still under European Union. So you are not only fighting against the country, which in itself is very big. You're also fighting against other people from Europe, and not to mention international people like myself. So the best of the best, they're all there. Creme de la creme, cream of the crop, top of the Anyway, So that's the biggest challenge. So that's why I think word of mouth is very important, because you probably can't always be looking for. There's so many people. It's very hard to choose.
And I notice with a lot of friends, it's paralyzing for them and for us as well, because the level is so high. It can be very scary to put your content out there because it's so oversaturated, and it's like the level to even get people enthusiastic is there. And that's why even a lot of people, they're scared to even start a project. But you just have to do it. You just have to have the fun of doing it and not have in mind the end goal or how it's going to be received. Otherwise, you'll never make anything.
Because everybody knows someone who has won awards, or once you see their work, you know that's top quality work. And for people who are less than that level, maybe just starting out, or even after a few years, the comparison is very easy to make with people.
One of the key challenges that we see in a lot of our freelancers currently in Singapore is really in terms of payment issues, and things like that. Do you face similar issues in London as well when it comes to payment?
I haven't faced payment issues.
Okay.
Because we're always not paid. You do free work. There's no payment.
There's that. No, I'm quite on it, and there is a small claims court that you can activate, that if you don't get your money after 30 days, you have to pay them a tiny bit of money, but then they'll harass the people.
And when you win, the losing side has to pay for that fee as well. Yeah, but
I've never used it. But
no. But even before that there is a union. It's quite unionized, even though you may not be in the union. But it's kind of common knowledge in London that there will be someone you can go to fight for you. And I'm a member of this trade union called Back2 in London, in the UK. And they have things like helpline, free legal helplines, and they have publishing, and on the internet, blacklisting people who have confirmed bad behavior. Yeah, so these are the things that would usually people pay within 30 days, even if there are problems. They'll talk to you about it.
The other side of it is getting the correct rate.
That's a
exactly.
bigger
That's
problem.
important.
I mean, just before Christmas, I quit a really big feature film because they tried to get us, they offered us a full-time contract, even though it would be 3 months, which had office hours, 9 to 6. And then it was like, you may do the occasional overtime. And so I expected 10-hour days. I was like, okay, I'll do occasional overtime for no extra pay.
Right.
But then it turned out to be 12-hour shooting days, and every day extra 3 hours for preparation and wrapping up, plus any overtime. So, and I made the difficult decision to quit because I was like, I'm just not okay with this. And it's difficult, but I wasn't the only one, and a lot of people were like, they stuck it out till the end, but they were like, you were so right to do it, but they were afraid of maybe having no work. But I was like, it's not, how you say, moralistic, or like, I'm not okay with this. So you need to dare to speak up for yourself.
And the way they put people in that situation, if they tell you up front, well, it's going to be 16 hours excluding traveling, and you're not going to get paid overtime, which, by the way, freelancers if you work on the set as crew member, you get paid overtime. Over 10 hours,
Yeah, depending on your contract.
depending on contract, but you may get overtime. After a certain number of hours, let's say 2 hours, you get then 2 times your pay. And after the third hour, you get 5 times,
Yeah.
something like that.
I did a feature film for 3 months and I loved overtime because 1 hour overtime was £50 extra.
Right.
2 hours was like
Right.
£100. Third
Yeah.
hour would be £100 per hour.
Right.
So when I was done, I would be like, let me treat you to a dinner or a cinema because I just earn extra money. But how is it for you, like setting your rate? Because for you, it's a different process. Because you're not dealing with the agency. You just say, I am worth.
Yeah. Because I do a lot of visual effects. So with visual effects, there is a general
Rate.
rate that is lower than, of course, camera crew or other creative departments like editors, animators. So those are skills that are known to have a certain rate. With visual effects artists, it's so general, and people often misunderstand the concept of visual effects. Sometimes they want motion graphics.
Yeah.
They'll tell you we need a VFX artist, or I'm looking for a dragon to fly over, but it's only 2 seconds. So they think it's going to be super easy, but 2 seconds or 2 minutes, you need to make the dragon. So there are things like that which make VFX artists rate become very low, because it's also against time. Let's say they pay you 1,000 for the whole job, and you think it's really good, but actually it takes a long time, including revisions. And this is a general thing that happens both in companies and also freelancers.
So do you think because you are Asian and then you might face certain disadvantage when you work in countries like London?
No, Asian
Okay.
people are better at the computer.
Oh, really? That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Positive discrimination.
But Q's credit as a visual effect artist is quite impressive because he has worked in like Interstellar, even Avengers Age of Ultron, Mission Impossible. Does this this repertoire help you in any way more than a typical Singaporean freelancer? I mean, the typical Singaporean freelancer will only deal with like films, corporate videos mainly, but you are kind of different. Does this help you a lot?
The London and Singapore relationship is very weird because I got these credits in Singapore, in One North, double negative. So and Interstellar, that was my first project as a junior artist. In fact, almost intern level. No, I was a junior artist. And gradually I got more and more opportunities to try. So, but this company is of course from London, based in London. And I was studying there. I tried to get a job in London, but because of visa issues, it didn't happen. And I was recommended to come to Singapore branch. And then later on, because of this, when I went back to London again, people see my CV and they think, you have been in a big production, you must have some experience one way or another. So it's definitely helpful. I think it looks impressive to people, and I have benefited.
So talking about visa and all this, so currently we all know what's facing London, right? The uncertainty of Brexit and things like that. So how do you think that will actually affect your stay in London? Would you consider moving to other parts of Europe, or
It's the certainty of the uncertainty, I think.
Yeah, no,
It's definitely uncertain.
we've dealt with lawyers getting his visa to come to London. So when we call them like, what's happening with Brexit, they're like, we don't know. It's never happened before, and the rules haven't been written down yet. So we really don't know. The only worst case, I'm European, so we can always sort of on that basis get into Europe. But then you have the problem of the language. So if we had to move, I don't know, maybe Canada.
Well, I mean,
That wouldn't be a bad option. No, but we're not afraid because I think I'm allowed to stay, and then because he's my husband, he's also allowed to stay and apply after he's been in the UK for 5 years.
Yeah, it would be crazy to imagine that they kick all the Europeans out.
And if they
I
do,
can't
I don't
imagine
want to
that.
be there.
Yeah, it would be a
mean,
bad situation.
It's the charm of London to have so many cultures
Yeah.
around you, and yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you both started freelancing? Do you have like a 6 month savings plan stashed somewhere?
Is that what people have here? They have a 6 month saving plan.
Well, most of them don't have, but I think it's something that we have always been advised, right, to have in that sense. Yeah. So, but a lot of people still jump into it without having it, lah. Yeah.
Definitely feels unplanned for me. It's very natural in the film industry that it is freelance. So yeah, and then I'm like fishing, if you know what I mean. I'm asking several people, do you know anything coming up? It's a constant fishing. And then I would sometimes even commit to 2 projects at the same time because projects drop all the time. As long as I know I have enough people who can replace me. So I make sure I don't let anyone down, but also I make sure the job is not going to let me down because I have other options. So in that way, try to protect. Yeah, and it's worked out all right. Yeah.
How about you?
I'm just reflecting like the visual effects artist. It is very difficult to freelance in the way that it's a teamwork.
Yeah.
It's if it's a one person or 1 to 2 small team, it's either a very low budget project or a very small project. In which case you don't earn much anyway. You would need to freelance in the sense of getting an employment, short-term contracts with bigger companies. So and after moving to London 2016, I did, just starting out, I lost a lot of contacts. I don't know many people. After working in Singapore for 4 years, I had to take on whatever I could get. So this includes also, apart from student films, small project. I was a receptionist in film school, in a school. Yeah, I had
Me
to.
too.
Yeah,
We share the job.
yeah. It's just really whatever you can get. I remember I was catering on a film set. I cooked the food. I packed it into boxes and I take a taxi and send it to people on film set. Yeah, so I had to do whatever I had to do. Eventually, there was some jobs where I get to direct or shoot small documentaries in China and go overseas, and so that got paid pretty reasonably, pretty well. Then things got a bit better. Yeah, and that was when I thought I should really try to direct more movies, write more.
Right.
Yeah.
But just curious, so you are based in London. How did that China film company manage to find you and get you over?
No, it's a English company.
Oh, it's an English company
English
then,
company.
but filming done in China.
Yeah. They
Right.
do research work, so they want to understand the people
Yeah.
more. So it's they call it ethnography. Yeah,
I first worked for them, and then because they work in so many countries, they're looking always for people who can do filmmaking and are okay with people and speak the language and have the culture. So I put him forward as well, and then now he has a lot more work. It's like
China's a
such
big place.
big
Yeah,
place.
China is a big
Yeah.
place.
And,
Yeah.
So Singaporeans knowing the language is actually a benefit and advantage for us, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's generally good to know more languages anyway. But I spoke to an agent. The best thing a writer director that can happen to a director is to get represented. Because then you don't need to look for jobs, and you are also hopefully by the time you are more established as well. So the best. This agent told me that you need to demonstrate your skills so that you can go under the wing of an agency. And when he said that I had a special advantage because I can speak Chinese. So if I get represented, sure, maybe you are not as good because of where you are. I only started directing last year. So maybe your level is not, like I said, London is very saturated. But if you can display your language and the understanding of the culture and etiquettes, there is an edge.
Because in England they're now really big on diversity,
Yeah.
and they have this special group called BAME, which is Black, Asian, Middle Eastern. So as on the one hand it can be uncomfortable, you don't really want to put yourself as I'm different. On the other hand, I do encourage him to like make use of it, like the same that I could make use of, because it's also big on females in the industry, and it feels on the one hand like I don't want to make it a point. On the other hand, if it's there, if
it
that
helps,
can,
right?
so
You just ride the wave. The wave comes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So both of you are freelancers together, as a couple, right? Does that create any kind of stress, or actually you feel that that's the thing that binds both of you all together?
The observation is probably we have different working time, because not all of us, we are not synchronized like a Monday to Friday. So I may have this job, you may have that job, in different days, different timing, different location. So we never really know.
It's only when I start as full-time that I finally have a weekend. Because because even if you don't have to work in the weekend as a freelancer, you either have to finish up some work, or you have to look for work, or you didn't make enough money to do fun stuff. So it's like it's the first time after 5-6 years of freelancing that I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, it's a proper weekend. But then because he's still freelancing, he may be busy, and but I don't mind. I mean, we understand both worlds. And it's nice now at least to have one side a bit of stability. I mean, I say one side, but you're a team, so sometimes it can be like a point of tension. I don't know, because he wants to wait for the perfect job, and I'm like, but you haven't worked for a while, so just take anything. But I can't, he has to follow his passion and heart, I guess.
Right.
Because if you keep doing unrelated jobs, you'll never advance with your career. So
That's true.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Because I think a lot of us are stuck at, just trying to make some money, and then we just take whatever job that comes along the way, and we fail to think that actually the next job could very well determine where we are going, or stagnant.
Yeah. But of course, on the other hand, I mean, especially for Singapore, right? Singapore cost of living is very high, so at every point in time, like young freelancers will always have to think about, when can I buy my first house? Who's going to take care of me when I get sick? So a lot of this kind of I would say daily struggle that a lot of the freelancers are facing in Singapore, especially, right? Especially from a financing point of view, right? But for both of you, when you are together as a freelancer, is finance a tension as well in that sense? Because both of you are freelancing, I guess in that sense, income is irregular. Then I guess London's standard of living is also quite high. So how do you all cope with issues like this?
Yeah, for me, a house is still unimaginable.
If there's a goal to work towards, then yes, maybe we cannot attain it right now, but then we can work towards that. You give me, £100,000 right now, I still don't think we would. It would still be questionable whether we buy a house in London, because for me, like, is London my home, like where I put my roots down?
Right.
You're from Holland. I'm not sure. And the other thing is, in London, the real estate is crazy. It's
especially with
crazy.
Brexit.
Yeah.
You want to work there?
Nobody knows.
You just can't, because they're like £1 million houses. How can you? And if you want to spend £500,000, which is 1 million of our Singapore dollars, you get a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. So people usually buy the house when they know where they want to settle. So I'm not even sure. I think renting is just an inevitable fate for the next 5 years. But what would be good for us, I think, is to know what we want to do on a bigger picture. Yeah, and I have to concede. I have to admit that I am very much a dreamer. Yeah, which is why I married you.
So you're the practical one.
A
in the
little
family?
bit more.
I mean, we have our practical moments, and we also have our dreaming moments. Just that we're not synchronized. Yeah. So I out of necessity, then I would go and look for certain jobs that are not directly related to, but to directing, for example.
Yeah.
Sometimes the job that you take takes you to a place where you don't expect.
Yeah, my dad always says, "From work comes work," and it's always true. As soon as you do something new, you meet new people. It will lead to more things, whether it's just knowledge or connections or anything. So, yeah.
Yeah. So these days I'm more open to doing whatever, as long as it's not ridiculously far away.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in London, this chaotic lifestyle is very normal and okay. When I just moved to London, someone said, "Oh, in this city, nobody knows." And I think it just defines London. In there, everyone is just sort of running around. Nobody has the answer, what's the right way to do things. Whereas I'm from the Netherlands, I feel people are much more like, it's gonna be like this, or I'm gonna do like that, and in 5 years this, and maybe in Singapore as well, it feels more structured and planned, so it can be harder to be different from that. But in London, it's just everyone is doing their thing, and so it doesn't feel wrong what we're doing. Yeah, so we're not uneasy with it.
Yeah, I get scared when I see my friends getting for example a BTO. If you know what a BTO is.
For Singaporean, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So a BTO with their girlfriend, sometimes first girlfriend, sometimes even before getting married. But the policies in Singapore dictates that you have to plan ahead for like 5 to 10 years ahead, which can be a good thing because the stability is so I guess
Can be easily
settling.
managed. Yeah.
Now with us in London, there are no such none of such policies, which means that if anything, London is the place for you to fight. It's not really the place for you to
Planned.
down.
for you to settle,
For
for you to have a home, because it's so expensive and everyone's running around. So we're there in fighting mode,
Right.
but we have to think about what we're going to do after. Yeah.
So, Lucy, just want to find out from you, right? I mean, after being like freelancers for 5 years and then, turning to full timers, how is the transition like for you? Are you getting used to it? Just now you mentioned about weekends, right? So, but other than the weekends, how do you do the transition from a freelancer to a full timer?
For me, it was quite alright, because I've actually always been quite consistently working as a freelancer. So it's not like one day here. But after the feature film that I quit because of the money, I was like, I want to try something new. Maybe I don't want to work in film anymore. So I took on, I took a marketing job. Actually, after 1 or 2 weeks, I knew I'm gonna be gone after 1 to 3 months. Like, I felt uneasy because even though I loved it because my mind was challenged, I felt I can't dedicate my life to every day say bye, this is great, come buy from us. There's nothing wrong with it, but I couldn't live with it. So and then the day I quit, that was the day I got an email in my inbox from the other company saying, we have something for you. And because that company already feels like home to me, I've been working for them for 6 years, it's quite an easy transition because I love the people. I know the place. I know how they work. The only strange thing is that normally I'm there when there's a shoot. Now for the last month there hasn't been a shoot, so I'm part of testing, just learning. So the difference is that, you know, normally somebody tells me in my ear on the walkie-talkie what to do, and I just follow orders. Now nobody tells me, so you have to, you know, show initiative, come up with ideas, and test and try. So it's different. Yeah, that's the biggest thing to get used to, because I feel a bit useless because I'm not following orders, and I question, am I doing the right thing? But hopefully with time that will.
Does that feel that freelancers will always be employees, in the sense that will always be the follower? Or am I wrong in thinking
That depends. You can be hired as a freelance set designer, and you still have the creative
That's
input.
true,
It's just that my work is quite following orders. Yeah.
How about you, Q? Would you ever, on the other side of the coin, would you ever think about, you know, going back to full-time employment again?
Yeah. I mean, the nature of full-time and freelance is not a concern to me. I'm happy with stability. I can tolerate the lack of stability. The more important thing for me is to do something that I create something for myself. At least ideally I'm working towards that. Even though that might mean that I'm taking less jobs, or I am getting paid less, because I think with writing and directing, it's a little bit of a different equation with other jobs. But no, I can really accept anything as long as I get the opportunity to write something, create something.
So what are some of the challenges you face, you know, or mistake that you have made during your freelance career that you would like to share with our audiences so that they will make the same mistake?
I think I'm quite a diplomatic person, or I want, by nature I try to please people.
Is it a Singaporean thing?
I don't know. Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean not entirely, because of course I know many people who are not like that, Singaporean. But I may not dare to negotiate. I may not dare to be assertive in what I need for the job. I have a inclination to go like, no, I'll just bend a bit backwards, because you know, also I'm afraid they would turn me down, like they would not give me the job, or hate me for some reason. So I would say, no, it's okay. I'll just suck it up this, you know, for this time. Then eventually, knowing other people, seeing how they operate, and also just, I guess, by experience, more and more I'm trying to counter that nature of mine, and I try to go, but I find many techniques to do this. For example, yes, I'm really nervous, I'm really scared to negotiate, but I would say maybe things like, I really don't want to do this, but I have to. So that it gives me a small little platform to it feels like they can empathize with me a bit more, rather than me sounding like a saying like I need this. Yeah,
I think we make a lot of mistakes with the money side.
I think
you always manage to get higher rates. I don't know, I feel I'm quite
because
afraid.
I'm a man.
Is that a thing, really? You know?
No.
I feel women are more scared, like they don't deserve it, or they feel they have to prove themselves more, and therefore they're like, probably not ask, because then they'll get someone else. But whether that's true or not, it could be a personality thing, or it could be I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, I am like that. I don't dare to, even if I ask more, I don't get as much as other people. because London. I mean, yeah, there's also the other thing where sometimes you see people who are not as good getting the jobs and getting paid higher because they have a good personality. And with me, and maybe you as well, our upbringing is that you gotta have the chops. You have to have the substance.
Yeah.
So talent and substance are very important values for us. So when we see people get jobs but they're not very good, they're winging it, we feel that this is very strange. But eventually you realize it's also important to have a good personality. When people enjoy working with you, it means a lot. So I still don't agree that you should be faking it, but I need to learn how to have a good personality, working relationship. So when I negotiate, I usually negotiate based on my talent or my portfolio, something that I can show for. But in the last few years, I think actually I can also negotiate based on other factors, like whether how much they need me at the time. Maybe I'm able to tap into that situation more, or that the budget of the project. Sometimes the budget is a bit bigger, therefore I can be paid more, for example. Yeah. Otherwise, based on my old mentality, I will never be paid enough.
So, do you think it's important for a Singaporean to look beyond? I mean, of course, it's important for us to look beyond Singapore shore because Singapore is a very small market, right? So the opportunity here may be limited. And then, like what you mentioned, London is really a big place with a lot of talent, right? So how would you, if let's say a fellow Singaporean who is looking to branch out, right, to other countries, what would you advise them to look out for? How do they make that first move in that sense? Network, yeah.
No, but you need to have the context.
For every country and every profession, probably different. So all I can explain is about London. In London, there is a visa problem. So you won't be able to just go and then just start. That is not possible lah. So I imagine this applies to many countries as well. But education is one way of getting there are short courses. So if you want to do, in our case, let's say filmmaking, you could join a 6 months course and apply for the appropriate visa and just go. That's certainly one way. What I find interesting is that the internet is amazing, right? I see a lot of film labs, talent labs, and just knowing people by emailing anything, you can make friends even without going. So we have a lot of international friends because of film school and just being in London. I'm able to keep in touch with them via Facebook and things, and you just never know. Sometimes you get a chance to. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for the sharing. Thank you for the time. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you to you as well, audience, for joining us in another episode of the Freelance Creative Exchange.
If you enjoyed the show, let us know by clicking the like button or leave a comment below.
Subscribe and hit the bell button so you won't miss out on our next episode.
Until then, bye.
Bye.